Harley just pulled the pin on a $6,000 grenade, and the blast is aimed straight at the motorcycle world. For decades, riding a Harley meant sacrifice, years of saving, heavy financing, or staring from the sidewalk. Now, a bike with the shield on its tank could cost less than some mid-range Japanese commuters. If you ride, this doesn't just change the showroom, it changes resale, culture, and who gets to call themselves a Harley owner. Stick with me, because the fallout from this rumored sprint could rewrite everything you thought you knew. The price bombshell. Harley allegedly did not just announce a motorcycle. They may have declared war on expectations. For over a century, the brand has been defined by heavyweight machines that roared down highways with equally heavyweight price tags. Owning one meant sacrifice, years of saving, long-term financing, or simply dreaming from the sidewalk. And then, according to supplier whispers, Harley pulled the pin on a grenade. If priced at $6,000, a motorcycle christened the Sprint could detonate across the industry like nothing before it. Reviving the Sprint name, if confirmed, would not be a nostalgic trick. It would be a statement. Back in the 1960s, Harley partnered with Italy's Ermacchi to create small, affordable bikes for everyday riders. That experiment whispered at what Harley could be. The rumored new Sprint would shout it. This would not be a heavyweight diluted into something smaller. It could be Harley compressing its myth into a price point the masses can finally touch. For context, competitor pricing shows the landscape. Hunter 350 around $4,200, MT-03 roughly $5,300, Rebel 500 typically in the mid-6,000s. If Sprint lands at $5,999, imagine walking into a showroom that once felt like a gated community. The velvet rope gets cut. A brand that used to begin at nearly $10,000 might offer a key for nearly half. The barrier between dream and reality could crumble, and riders who never thought they would wear the shield suddenly see themselves in the mirror of possibility. The mathematics alone tell a shocking story. For decades, Harley's entry point sat at $9,000 to $12,000. That pricing excluded millions of potential riders, college students paying tuition, young professionals managing student loans, urban workers balancing rent and transportation costs. At $6,000, those same demographics suddenly find themselves within striking distance of American motorcycle royalty. The psychological impact cannot be understated. What was once aspirational becomes attainable. But the sticker shock may only be the beginning. Look who Harley could be chasing: the new rider target. If confirmed, this would not be built for Harley's past. It would be built for its future. The Sprint was allegedly never designed to lure veteran riders who already own road glides or fat boys. Instead, analyst chatter suggests the company could be openly aiming at a demographic that has eluded it for more than a generation: first-time buyers, urban commuters, and young professionals who crave style without bankruptcy. In American cities where the average apartment lease already swallows half a paycheck, a $10,000 bike was a fantasy. A rumored $6,000 Sprint suddenly looks attainable. The strategy makes sense when viewed against the global backdrop. In markets such as India, Indonesia, and Brazil, motorcycles under $7,000 dominate streets and highways. Royal Enfield, Honda, and Yamaha have built empires on bikes in that band. By potentially positioning the Sprint in the same arena, Harley could signal that it does not intend to surrender younger riders to its rivals. The Honda Rebel 500, the Yamaha MT-03, and the Royal Enfield Hunter 350 all live between $4,000 and $7,000. If confirmed, a Harley badge would sit on the same showroom floor at nearly the same price. Analysts argue that the move could unlock a lifetime funnel. Bring a 20-something into the brand with an affordable Sprint, and 10 years later that same rider might be ready to graduate into a touring model costing $20,000 or more. What was once a lost customer becomes a repeat buyer across decades. The customer lifetime value calculation becomes compelling when viewed through this lens. Even if Harley breaks even on Sprint sales, The long-term revenue potential from accessories, service, and eventual upgrades could justify the strategy. The rumored Sprint makes the most sense for first-time riders, urban commuters, and anyone looking for low total cost of ownership. With lighter weight and lower insurance costs, it could be a practical gateway into the Harley ecosystem. On the flip side, highway tourers, veteran Harley owners who prize big displacement, and brand purists may find it lacking in range, presence, or tradition. For them, the Sprint risks feeling more like a second commuter bike than a core Harley experience. And if Harley is chasing new blood, dealers could be about to bleed margin. If this breakdown is opening your eyes, subscribe to our channel and drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you think Harley's rumored gamble could work. Dealer math. If confirmed, Harley's cheapest bike could become its riskiest bet. For dealers, the rumored Sprint represents both salvation and threat. On one hand, the promise of fresh foot traffic is irresistible. Younger riders entering showrooms could spark apparel sales, parts purchases, and long-term service contracts. On the other hand, if Sprint's slim price leaves less room for dealer margin, the volume would have to be high to keep lights on. One miscalculation in allocation and showrooms could be stacked with unsold units eating into floor plan financing. The mathematics are brutal. Traditional Harley models carry dealer margins in the 15 to 25% range, depending on model and market conditions. At $6,000, maintaining those margins becomes nearly impossible without sacrificing build quality or features. Dealers might see margins compressed to single digits, forcing them to sell 3 or 4 Sprints to equal the profit from one traditional cruiser. That's a fundamental shift in business model that not every dealer can navigate successfully. There's also the potential ripple in used markets. Pre-owned Sportsters that once filled the entry role for $8,000 could suddenly look overpriced beside a brand new Sprint at $6,000. Dealers with lots full of used iron may be forced into fire sale discounts. Even classic street models, once marketed as the accessible Harley, risk becoming harder to move overnight. Inventory managers may face a paradox. Celebrate the Sprint's arrival, but brace for collateral damage on everything else below $10,000. The timing creates additional complexity. Used motorcycle values have remained relatively strong post-pandemic, with many dealers carrying significant used inventory. If Sprint deliveries coincide with seasonal sales periods, dealers could face a perfect storm. New low-priced inventory competing directly with their used stock, compressed margins on new sales, and pressure to move aging inventory before it becomes completely obsolete. Riders with a Rebel 500, Street 750, or Sportster should act early. Once Sprint deliveries begin, older entry-level Harleys and mid-weight Japanese cruisers may face downward price pressure. To get ahead, list your bike now with a fresh service record and new tires, and cross-post to CycleTrader, Facebook Marketplace, and OfferUp. Pricing 2 to 5% below local comparables increases the odds of selling quickly before Sprint reshapes the used market. But the real gamble may not be financial. It could be cultural. For first-time riders, the right setup matters more than the badge. Links to starter gear and accessories are in the description. Brand identity test. Can a rumored $6,000 bike still be a Harley? That's the question echoing through veteran riders clubs and online forums. For decades, Harley's identity has been welded to heavyweight cruisers with deep exhaust notes and long-distance credibility. Shrinking that aura into a budget-priced entry could risk diluting the brand in the eyes of its most loyal customers. The brand equity question runs deeper than simple pricing. Harley-Davidson has spent over a century building an image around exclusivity, craftsmanship, and American manufacturing heritage. The rumored Sprint challenges all 3 pillars simultaneously. If priced at $6,000, it's no longer exclusive. If built overseas for cost reasons, it's no longer purely American. If simplified for affordability, it may not showcase traditional craftsmanship. Each compromise risks alienating the core customer base that sustained the company through multiple downturns. Still, tension may remain. For purists, the brand must roar. For strategists, the brand must grow. Harley could be betting that it can achieve both, that the Sprint might capture newcomers without driving away veterans. If successful, the move could expand the brand's base in a way not seen since the post-war boom. If it fails, Harley risks being accused of selling its soul for volume. The resolution likely depends on execution. A Sprint that genuinely embodies Harley's design language and riding experience could bridge the cultural divide. A Sprint that feels like a rebadged import with Harley stickers could fracture the community permanently. Industry chatter suggests Harley could undercut rivals at their own game. Price. Where built and what it costs. If priced at $6,000, this would not be a discount. It could be a weapon. Harley-Davidson has always lived in a price bracket that demanded sacrifice, whether through financing, trade-ins, or years of saving. If confirmed, the Sprint could slice into the range where Japanese rivals have long been untouchable. Take the Yamaha MT-03, a lively parallel twin that commands around $5,300. For years, that model stood as a gateway drug to performance riding. The Sprint's rumored arrival could undercut that space not with racing stripes, but with the Harley shield. The arithmetic matters more than most realize. Yamaha built its brand reputation on reliability, low running costs, and approachable performance. Yet the Harley name carries a cultural cachet that a spreadsheet cannot measure. Place a potential Sprint and an MT-03 side by side in a showroom, and many first-time buyers might gravitate to the badge they have seen in films, music, and American folklore. The fact that Harley could deliver that mystique at nearly the same price is what might shock the market. Competitors will try to defend with features, LED screens, traction control, maybe a quick shifter, but Harley could be betting that lifestyle can overwhelm spec sheets. That gamble transforms the $6,000 figure from affordability into ammunition. The pricing becomes psychological warfare, forcing established players to justify their value propositions in ways they never had to before. Still, Harley faces a brutal truth. Competing against Yamaha, Honda, and Royal Enfield at their own price level without using their global cost structures may be impossible. The decision could test whether fans value affordability more than birthplace. Early social media reactions suggest the community is divided, with some riders prioritizing American jobs and others embracing global competitiveness. Financing the dream. If confirmed at $6,000, that would just be the downbeat. The payments tell the story. For a college student or a young professional, the Sprint's rumored sticker price would not be the only hurdle. Monthly financing rates and insurance premiums determine whether a dream is realistic. Harley would almost certainly pair the Sprint with aggressive promotional financing. Stretch a loan across 48 or 60 months at a competitive rate, and a buyer might ride home for less than the cost of a daily coffee habit. The financing mathematics reveal the true accessibility. At $6,000 with 20% down and 4.9% APR over 48 months, monthly payments could land around $115. Compare that to a traditional Harley Sportster at $12,000, which might require payments exceeding $250 monthly. The difference represents real money for young buyers balancing multiple financial obligations. Insurance could be another lever. Smaller displacement and commuter-friendly design likely mean cheaper premiums compared to leader-class machines. The Sprint could become the most affordable way to enter the Harley ecosystem, not just on purchase price, but on monthly outlay. This reshapes the total cost of ownership calculus that once kept younger buyers away. Insurance companies typically base premiums on engine displacement, theft rates, and accident statistics. A 600cc Harley Sprint would likely carry lower premiums than a 1200cc Sportster, potentially saving riders hundreds of dollars annually. For budget-conscious buyers, these savings compound the affordability advantage. If MSRP lands at $5,999 and dealers tack on $600 to $1,200 in fees, aim for an out-the-door price at or below $6,999. Ask for an itemized breakdown of document fees, setup, and destination charges, and push back on paint protection or add-ons you did not request. Look for promotional financing in the 0.9 to 4.9% range. If dealer markups are heavy early on, consider waiting 60 to 90 days for supply to stabilize before signing. But rivals cannot simply match Harley dollar for dollar. Their cost structures may not let them. Workers on edge. A cheap Harley, if confirmed, would not be cheap for the people who build it. The rumored Sprint may excite young riders, but in union halls across the Midwest, industry speculation has sent ripples of unease. Harley's factories in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Missouri have long supported thousands of union jobs, and workers know the math. Producing a motorcycle for under $6,000 inside U.S. borders would be brutally difficult. If Harley chooses offshore assembly, those jobs could evaporate. The employment implications extend beyond simple job counts. Harley's manufacturing facilities employ skilled machinists, welders, and assembly technicians who command premium wages in their local markets. These workers have built careers around producing premium motorcycles with complex manufacturing requirements. A shift toward simpler, lower-cost models produced overseas could eliminate the need for much of this specialized expertise. Union representatives warn of a dangerous precedent. They recall when the Street Series leaned on overseas facilities, sparking bitter protests. The Sprint's potential global production whispers feel like déjà vu. "We do not fear competition," one machinist might explain. "We fear being erased from the equation." The concern is not only about assembly lines, it's also about technicians. Modern Harleys are complex machines, and service departments employ legions of mechanics trained to handle heavyweight cruisers. The rumored Sprint, lighter and simpler, could reduce the need for high-cost technician hours. Some fear this could shrink service revenue, cutting hours and pay. Reskilling programs might soften the blow, but uncertainty lingers. Workers built the Harley legend, and they fear becoming casualties of Harley's rumored reinvention. Political spotlight. Every politician loves a Harley until tariffs enter the picture. From campaign stops to photo opportunities, candidates have wrapped themselves in the flag while astride a Harley. Yet the Sprint's rumored arrival could introduce uncomfortable contradictions. If built overseas, it might fall afoul of Buy American expectations. Lawmakers already sensitive to manufacturing flight could be pressed to respond. The political calculus becomes complex when economic reality meets campaign rhetoric. Politicians who campaigned on bringing manufacturing jobs back to America face difficult questions when iconic American brands choose overseas production. Harley's decision-making process could become a case study in the tensions between free market capitalism and economic nationalism. Tariff debates are never far from motorcycles. In the 1980s, Harley benefited from steep tariffs on Japanese imports, gaining breathing room to modernize its operations and improve quality. Today, the tables could turn. Should Sprint production be located in Thailand or India, the very government that once protected Harley may scrutinize its own hometown hero. Trade officials could push for new levies, potentially squeezing Harley between affordability goals and patriotic optics. The irony runs deep. Harley's survival in the 1980s depended partly on government protection from foreign competition. Now the company may need foreign manufacturing partnerships to compete effectively in global markets. The contradiction highlights how dramatically trade dynamics have shifted over 4 decades. For now, senators and governors tread carefully. No one wants to alienate Harley enthusiasts in their districts, but the balance is fragile, and a single misstep in tariffs or emissions rules could ignite hearings that benefit no one except political grandstanders. Investor math. If confirmed, Harley's cheapest bike may be its richest idea. Wall Street analysts often speak less about engines and more about funnels. They could see the Sprint as the first step in a lifetime customer pipeline. At $6,000, Harley might capture riders at the earliest stage of their careers. 10 years later, that same rider could step into a $15,000 soft ale. 2 decades later, they might graduate into a $25,000 touring machine, complete with service plans, accessories, and merchandise. Each Sprint sold today could yield decades of revenue tomorrow. The customer lifetime value calculation becomes compelling when viewed through this lens. Industry data suggests motorcycle enthusiasts typically own multiple bikes over their riding careers, often trading up in displacement, features, and price. If Harley can capture riders early with affordable entry points, the probability of retaining them for premium purchases later increases dramatically. Investors note the potential in scale. If Harley sells 50,000 Sprints annually worldwide, even at thinner margins, the sheer volume could rival the profitability of heavyweight cruisers. The stock market thrives on growth stories, and Sprint could offer one with a simple narrative. Harley expands its base. Early market reactions to rumors were cautiously optimistic. Some analysts raised price targets, arguing that Harley might finally solve its aging demographic problem. Others warned of risks, from margin compression to brand dilution. The mathematics of scale matter enormously. Current Harley production volumes hover around 200,000 units annually across all models. Adding 50,000 Sprints would represent a 25% increase in unit sales, even if revenue per unit declines. That kind of volume growth could justify significant infrastructure investments and operational changes. Quarterly earnings calls could become particularly interesting if Sprint details emerge. Analysts will demand specifics about production costs, margin expectations, and volume projections. Management's ability to articulate a compelling growth narrative could significantly impact stock performance regardless of the motorcycle's actual market reception. The mystery machine. We know the rumored price and the name, the rest is guesswork. Harley has allegedly guarded Sprint specifications with unusual secrecy, offering only speculation at any reveal. That leaves the industry to guess wildly. Will it carry a twin-cylinder engine, matching the Yamaha MT-03? Or will Harley lean on a single-cylinder platform to keep costs low, echoing Royal Enfield's strategy? The engineering questions multiply rapidly. Engine displacement, configuration, and technology level all impact production costs and market positioning. A sophisticated parallel twin with modern electronics could justify $6,000 pricing, but might require overseas manufacturing. A simpler single-cylinder design could potentially support domestic assembly, but might disappoint performance-oriented buyers. Design cues are equally mysterious. If leaked sketches suggest a muscular fuel tank and low-slung stance, without confirmation, the debate rages on. Enthusiasts hope for genuine Harley DNA, belt drive, throaty exhaust, and unmistakable styling. Skeptics fear a generic commuter draped in Harley paint. Weight, horsepower, and electronic features all remain unknown. Benchmarking rivals hints at possibilities, perhaps 40 horsepower, perhaps 380 pounds curb weight, perhaps modern conveniences like ABS and LED lighting. But until Harley unveils the production model, all we have are educated guesses. The speculation itself generates publicity, keeping Harley in motorcycle media coverage without spending advertising dollars. Prototype testing and regulatory approval timelines suggest final specifications may already be locked. Any changes at this stage would delay launch and increase development costs. Harley's engineers must be confident in their choices, but market validation awaits the actual reveal. Competitors scramble. The first casualty was complacency. Honda, Kawasaki, and Yamaha had long owned the entry-level motorcycle space, adjusting prices slowly and releasing updates on predictable cycles. The Sprint's rumored $6,000 sticker could blow up that rhythm overnight. Suddenly, the bikes that once seemed unbeatable might look vulnerable, not because they lost quality, but because they lost surprise. Honda could be the most exposed. Its Rebel line has been the go-to for beginners in the United States, blending friendly ergonomics with trusted reliability. Priced just above $6,000, it might now look like a safe but uninspired choice. Expect Honda to potentially respond with temporary rebates, loyalty incentives, or technology upgrades to remind buyers why it deserves loyalty. The competitive response could reshape the entire entry-level segment. Manufacturers who previously competed primarily on features and reliability may need to emphasize brand heritage and emotional appeal. That's traditionally been Harley's strength, making the Sprint's arrival particularly threatening to established players. Kawasaki faces a similar challenge with the Eliminator, a machine praised for agility but lacking the Harley mystique. To compete, Kawasaki could lean on its reputation for performance or bundle gear and extended warranties to sweeten the deal. Yamaha, though wounded, may add premium features to justify its price point. None of these companies expected to be playing defense against Harley in the budget arena. The scramble extends beyond pricing to marketing messaging. Competitors may emphasize reliability records, service network coverage, or racing heritage to differentiate themselves from a newcomer Sprint. These defensive strategies could inadvertently validate Harley's decision to enter the segment, acknowledging that brand prestige matters even at entry-level price points. Supply chain implications could favor some competitors over others. Companies with established low-cost manufacturing and efficient distribution may respond more quickly than those dependent on premium positioning. The Sprint's arrival could accelerate industry consolidation as weaker players struggle to compete simultaneously on price and features. Culture clash and policy ripples. When price pressure meets pride, sparks fly. Harley riders have always prided themselves on being part of something exclusive, a tribe built around machines that required financial sacrifice. The rumored Sprint threatens to redraw those boundaries. Suddenly, a college student or young gig worker might park next to a $25,000 road glide on equal footing. For some, that democratization could be inspiring. For others, it might feel like dilution. Clubhouses and online forums echo with debate. Purists insist the Sprint could cheapen the brand, warning that Harley might lose the very aura that made it aspirational. Younger riders counter that accessibility is the future, arguing that the company must evolve or fade into irrelevance. Generational divides sharpen. Veterans worry about etiquette, culture, and pride of ownership. Newcomers talk about affordability, style, and mobility. The cultural tensions reflect broader societal divisions about exclusivity versus inclusion. Harley has historically benefited from aspirational positioning, the brand people dreamed of joining someday. Opening those gates to wider populations could energize new communities while alienating existing ones. Managing this transition requires delicate balancing of messaging and community building. Social media amplifies these tensions exponentially. Facebook groups dedicated to specific Harley models buzz with speculation and argument. Instagram influencers debate whether Sprint riders deserve the same respect as touring model owners. TikTok videos mock or celebrate the democratization of American motorcycle culture. The conversation extends far beyond traditional motorcycle media into mainstream social discourse. Safety infrastructure demands attention as motorcycle adoption increases. More riders mean more accidents without corresponding improvements to training, protective gear standards, and road design. Policymakers may need to invest in rider education programs, improve road surface maintenance, and enhance emergency response capabilities. These costs could offset some environmental and congestion benefits. What you should do: $6,000, if confirmed, doesn't just buy a bike, it buys a doorway. For millions who once saw Harley-Davidson as unattainable, the Sprint could become an entry point into the brand's ecosystem. A first motorcycle often leads to service visits, apparel, clubs, and eventually bigger machines. Each sale is more than revenue. It's recruitment into a lifestyle. For consumers, that doorway is empowerment. Harley ownership might no longer be reserved for older, wealthier riders. Young professionals, students, and commuters could access the same culture that once felt distant. For investors, the doorway represents scalability. Harley could expand its base and reset its customer funnel for a new generation. Buyers face an intriguing decision matrix. First-time riders must weigh Japanese reliability against Harley's cultural cachet. The Sprint could tip the scales if it delivers genuine Harley character at a competitive price. Experienced riders might consider it as a second bike for urban use or as a training platform for friends and family. For Harley-Davidson, the stakes are immense. Sprint's success could validate a shift toward accessibility and growth, while failure risks brand dilution and wasted resources. The industry is watching closely to see whether a heritage brand can modernize without losing its core identity. Harley just redrew the map, but the next move belongs to you. If you've watched this far, you know this isn't just a bike, it's a battle for the future. Subscribe right now, join the ride, and don't miss what happens next, because the story is only just beginning.